Shalom, brothers and sisters. I want to thank everybody for the overwhelming response I got yesterday. I couldn't believe it that I got that many views that quick. So maybe I'm onto something here, a little bit better way to present this to where you get what you need. So we're going to talk a little bit about the manufactured consent and why do they need it. Now, you remember the Contracts 101 from yesterday? If you've not seen it, watch it. So you can keep up with the lesson. And I would like to add, I really believe the time is very short, probably shorter than we know. And please share this and get as many people in here with us as we can so we can get us all up to speed. I'm working towards a non-UCC redemption process, which actually, if you are a believer who is in covenant with the Most High, you've been redeemed. You've been redeemed through the blood of Yahusha, our Messiah. And that's what the New Testament's all about. And see, the satanic system, they throw you into debt, and then we have to go through a redemption process that costs thousands of dollars and extensive learning, and it's a counterfeit. And it gets us to forsake our true redemption for a redemption that's granted by man. And this man is operating as an agent of the devil. You know, it's really that simple. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to hit on some basic concepts, and I'm going to get a little bit into scripture this morning to show you a little bit about how, when you start reading the Bible as a law book, how it really does change things. And also, I want to give a shout out for Brandon for the Big Sib YouTube channel. He gave me a shout out the other day. I went from 100 viewers to over 200 in 24 hours. And, you know, that was a really big boost for me. And also it helped me to get focused more and realize how short everything was and how much of a responsibility this is to try to help people to get a handle on this. So with that said, here we go. Satan's minions want a valid contract. So see, I already made a mistake and put a question mark. Hey, this stuff ain't going to be that polished, but I don't care about that. It's the message. I'm looking to get some basic universal principles across to you. If you get those, you can avoid having to go through what Brandon and what I've had to go through. You can't be ignorant, but you ain't going to have to dive in like we have. Okay? So the devil does not want you to be able to defend against his accusations on the day of judgment. And it really comes down to that. He's conditioning us in this life to subjugate ourselves to his system and to do it in such a way that we ultimately lose our very soul. So that's why this stuff is so important. It's not just about, you know, the persecutions we're going through right now. So it's, you know, it's a very far-reaching thing. So there's that. Now, to be binding, a contract must be entered into knowingly, willingly, and voluntarily. But there's something else missing there. Okay, and this is how they get us. This is the rub right here. They always fail on this. A valid contract is only valid if made with full disclosure of its terms. They never tell you their terms, and they never even tell you half the time you're entering into a contract. And if we have time, if it's not as bleak as I think it is, I will show you why every mortgage in this country is voidable, illegal. In fact, that's how I was going to retire. I was going to attack mortgage companies, you know, get to the point to where I can hire myself out to attack mortgage companies and get people out of these fraudulent mortgages. It's a unilateral contract, and they give no consideration. They don't sign it. And then you give them a promissory note, which they monetize. Then they just put an entry in their ledger, give you back your own money. Same thing Trump's doing right now. And then charge interest on it. So that's how, corrupt the system is that we live in. It's all corrupt, greedy men that really think they're getting somewhere by treating other men this way. You know, you can't do that. There are universal principles. Some people think of it as karma. And karma is it's a Hindu concept, and the doctrine of karma has to do with reincarnation also. So I don't really use that term, but in the Bible it says if you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. In other words, you get what you give. So the day of reckoning is coming. But this is the point that you always want to look for in these contracts, these assumed contracts or adhesion contracts. We'll talk about some of that stuff later. But always look about, has there been a valid contract? Is it valid, void, or voidable? You know, and one of the big things is going to always be, did they tell you all of its terms? Was it with full disclosure? Because if not, let's see if I can go backwards here. If it's not, you didn't enter into it knowingly, willingly, and voluntarily. That was, if they didn't disclose, it's fraud. It has to be made with full disclosure or it's fraud. Period. No wiggle room there. And that's where you attack. Instead of full disclosure, the beast system manufactures consent through the use of presumption and assumption. Okay, and probably either the next video or the video after, I'm going to be talking about a little bit more about this through the use of the UCC. I can't decide if whether or not I want to do, I think I probably want to do jurisdiction and standing first. You need to understand those concepts. But I'm going to get on the presumption and assumption and how that's applied through the Uniform Commercial Code. But like I say, I want you to get the overall, picture of what's happening here. So if Satan can get you to assume that the powers that be, or the alleged powers that be, are in fact legitimate, then you behave in a certain way to legitimize them further. And you submit yourself willfully to them. But it should not be so. Well, King David said, "Keep back thy servant from presumptuous sins, let them not have dominion over me. Then I shall be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression." Okay, presumptuous sins. Jumping to conclusions, just doing things impulsively. And I looked back in the Geneva Bible, TS 2009, quite a few of the Bibles, and it was either presumptuous sins or it was willful sins. I didn't go back into the Hebrew. I did, but I didn't get, on first blush, I didn't get the answers that I was looking for, and I didn't want to spend that much time on it. But it seems to be all the translators are going along those lines of being presumptuous as being willful, is what I've gotten out of this. So check it out for yourself. Dig in there, get your Strong's Concordance out, and look at that word presumptuous in Psalm 19:13. Because presumption leads to sin. When you presume, these people have jurisdiction. These people have authority. And these people can come in there and they can tell you to go and self-isolate, and you submit yourself to them. That's one of those forms of tacit acquiescence. You're in fact saying, yeah, you're right, you got jurisdiction over me. So see, the presumption goes both ways. They presume the jurisdiction, then you presume that they're legitimate, and you grant them the jurisdiction. You starting to see something here? King David was petitioning Yahuwah for help in overcoming his tendency for presumption. See how he started that? Keep back thy servant also from presumptuous sins. He's asking for Yahuwah's strength. He says, let them not have dominion over me. And what happens when we get into being presumptuous with the system? Then the system has dominion over us. So, and look at the last part. Then I shall be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression. Now the implication with that verse is, if I am presumptuous, whoops, that didn't work. If I'm presumptuous and let them have dominion over me, then I'm not being upright and I'm not innocent. Did you see that? Kind of read between the lines and see how the logic is applied to that statement. I'm going to go over into 2 Samuel for a minute, and we're just going to take a brief look here. And this is David's song of deliverance. It starts in 2 Samuel 22:1. And David spake unto the Lord the words of this song in the day that the Lord had delivered him out of the hand of his enemies, and out of the hand of Saul. And he said, The Lord is my rock and my fortress, my deliverer, the God of my rock. In him I will trust. He is my shield, and the horn of my salvation, my high tower, my refuge, my Savior. Thou savest me from violence. I will call upon, I'm going to say Yahuwah. This word here is illegitimate. Lord, L-O-R-D, that's a gloss. Actually, by putting it in there that way in the King James Version, they've removed the word, or the tetragrammaton, Yad-He-Wav-He. They've completely removed the name of Yahuwah from the Bible, because you can't mix. The gloss is considered American Sign Language, the Chicago Manual Style, 16th edition. I believe it's that one's on page 666, which I think is really pretty incredible. But go look at Justinian Deception's work on that. So we're gonna do this again. And David spoke unto Yahuwah the words of the song in the day that Yahuwah had delivered him out of the hand of all his enemies, and out of the hand of Saul. And he said, Yahuwah is my rock, and my fortress, and my deliverer, and the Elohim of my rock. The Elohim of my rock, in him I will trust. He is my shield, and the horn of my salvation, my high tower, my refuge, my Savior. Thou savest me from violence. I will call upon Yahuwah, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. When the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. I put the italics in there on that to draw your attention to that. The waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. Do you think that might have something to do with this maritime admiralty jurisdiction, that everything has to do with the water? As I kind of find it's kind of ironic the way this is worded here, and I don't think it's by accident. 22:6. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress I called upon Yahuwah, and cried to my Elohim. He did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears. Now, did enter are words that have been added by the translators. So I should have probably went, the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men. Should have probably done that as bold rather than italicized, because the King James translators did put some words in there, and to identify the words that were added, they put them in italics. So there's that. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of heaven moved and shook, because he was wroth. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also, and came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub, and did fly, and he was seen upon the wings of the wind. And he made darkness pavilions around about him, dark waters, and thick clouds of the skies. Through the brightness before him were coals of fire kindled. Yahuwah thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. And he sent out arrows, and scattered them, lightning, and discomfited them. And the channels of the sea, the foundations of the world, were discovered at the rebuking of Yahuwah, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. He sent from above, he took me, he drew me out of many waters. And that's where we're going to stop there. But I chose this verse because of the language that's in there. If you see there in the channels of the sea mentioned in the second to the last verse, 22:16, and the channels of the sea appeared, the foundations of the world were discovered. And then in 22:17, he drew me out of many waters. Now, what's the significance of that? And I don't want to get too deep into the theological because there's too much room for contention there. But I believe that this is not just a song of deliverance, it's a prophecy, and I believe that there's an element of pointing towards the end time. David's seeing something, and I believe that he's seeing, getting a glimpse of the day of Yahuwah, when his judgment comes upon this world for all the evil that men have done. And I believe that's why that this language is in there. None of it's by accident, okay? There's not one accidental word in that Bible. There may be some perversions by men. There may be some things that were mishandled, some done out of ignorance, some done out of malice. But he is very powerful and able to preserve the overall message of his word. He spoke this all into existence, so why wouldn't he be able to? So anyway, I just thought that was kind of an interesting and relevant passage to look at here. Oh, okay, here we go. It's not what I was wanting to do, but you know what? It'll work. So anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Like I said, please like, subscribe, and share. I don't care a thing about, any glory for myself or anything, but I feel that Yahuwah has given me something, and I'm just almost ready to do something with it. And what I'm doing is a document that should be a way for redemption. I've already sent Brandon a rough copy of most of it, and it's just mostly the technical stuff at the beginning and end that has to be added. And I've noticed there's a couple of things that I missed in this document, but I want to get this thing and make it to where anybody that wants to do this, if that's a good place for them to start studying. Now, I can't practice law, and I can't offer you this as your remedy. You have to do your own due diligence. I'm not a lawyer. I can go to jail for practicing law. So I am not in any way practicing law here. I'm simply sharing my testimony and sharing what I'm doing for me. And, I'm hoping to get some feedback from others. And, all of us non-professional lawyers, there's nothing that says we can't help each other. As men, as a man, I can practice law. But I don't have to practice. I live the law. I live the law of Yahuwah, the natural law. But we'll get into that a little bit more when we start talking about jurisdiction. And that's what I keep harping on. Well, you got to know who you are. You got to know you're a child of the Most High Elohim. You got to know that you're under his jurisdiction, that you're registered in heaven, your citizenship is in heaven, and you're going to be on this kingdom, in his kingdom on this earth when he returns, if you're chosen, you're calling, chosen, and faithful, as it says in Revelation. So that's what we all want to be, and we all want to be able to know enough to defend against this beast system and to not fall into their traps through our presumption and assumption, or not be able to not let them assault us with their presumptions and assumptions. So it's not just them that's doing the presuming and assuming. It's also us. They're presuming and assuming different facts that give them the jurisdiction over us, and we are presuming and assuming certain things that make us think they have jurisdiction over us, when in truth there is only one who has jurisdiction over you, and that is the Most High Yahuwah Elohim, and his Son, who has jurisdiction through that granted to him by his Father. Okay? And that's kind of a universal principle that I really want people to get, because a guy, Unit 5 from Brandon's forum, wrote me something this morning about how to start on this, and I'm going to just take a second and answer that. I've had to go through, I put a comment in the last one. I had to go through hell and high water, literally, to get to where I'm at in studying this. And it's been so much wasted time and so much unnecessary time. But was it really? I mean, if somebody else can profit from it, was the time wasted? And what would I have been doing with that time had I not been studying? So I can't really look at it that way. But the time is short, and you guys don't need to stumble around in the dark like I did for so long. If you have, I'm hoping to be a filter. I'm hoping to be able to give you some things that you can hang your knowledge upon, where you can cut out all of this wasted time in studying it. Because you got to get right to the point. You got to figure out who you are, and you got to figure out how to avoid the the beast system's jurisdiction and how to stay in covenant and under the protection of the Almighty, so that you fall into the Psalm 91 category, you know, where his wings encompass you like chicks, and he's protecting you. Because that's our only hope. What we're coming up on right now, that's our only hope. He is our only hope. I am completely and totally powerless to save me. I have to depend upon the Most High. And with that, I'm going to say Yahuwah bless you all, and I will talk to you next time. I'm going to try to follow this up rather quickly, because like I say, the time's getting short. But please, you know, take a look at the things that we've said. Go back over this again and share it with everybody. Get everybody in here that you think might could benefit from this. Because if people coming in at a later date, we got 3, 4, 5 videos underneath us, they're not going to be as able to catch up. They're going to have to kind of to jam them together. And it would be better if we all went together on this thing, on this path. If we all stuck together and we all figured this out together, then we wouldn't have any stragglers. So that's the reason I'm pressing now. After, you know, it's been a few months, 2 or 3 months since I've had this channel going, and Brandon asked me a while back when I talked to him if I wanted to shout out. I said no, I didn't want to shout out because I wasn't prepared. I didn't know the software, and I was just too green at the presenting. But now I feel like I'm being compelled to ask for you to tell everybody, to share on social media, to like, to subscribe, because not for my glory, but to the glory of Yahuwah, and that as many people as possible might be able to have this in their arsenal so that they can defend themselves from the fiery arrows of the evil one. We are in some evil times, folks, and it's only going to get worse from here. So don't be scared. Don't be scared. We're told that when we see these things happening, lift up our heads because our redemption draws nigh. So, you know, the punishment that's coming is for the wicked, not for us. Some of us may be caught up in it, you know, but we've got to know who we are, and we got to get our hearts right, and then we have to get the resolve to where we can do the things that we have to do, even the unpleasant things if need be, knowing that ultimately Yahuwah will save us. Even if we happen to lose our lives, He will save us. We will gain our lives in the age to come. So with that said, Yahuwah bless you all, and I'll talk to you soon.